get closer to what we were speaking about with David, trying to get closer to having a business that provides for you instead of it just being a side gig or what have you. So we are going to jump right into the first part. So what I want you to get out of this webinar, all right, is I want you to break out or break through the matrix of bad marketing advice out there. And believe me, there is so much of it. I'm going to cover that a little later, just what about it is so bad and what to look out for. I want you to love email marketing as much as you love any of your favorite shows. You'll find out why there's no reason why you shouldn't consider email marketing to be any different than shows like Breaking Bad or Walking Dead, which I love summer. I live in Canada, but I already cannot wait till October just because I have to follow up on The Walking Dead's final episode. So that is the way I want you to see your email marketing. Just as the people who write shows like Breaking Bad and Walking Dead look forward to doing more of the work that they do, that's the way I want you to see email marketing. It's not a chore. It's not a job. It's not this thing you just got to get out of the way. It's this thing you absolutely have to do because you're jonesing for it. You want more of it. And lastly, I want you to build a cult following rather than a customer base. So just with Walking Dead, obviously they're producing that whole show because the bottom line is there's money to be made. You got to make money, right? However, they take a completely different approach. And just because, whatever business you're in might not be some kind of like TV show about zombies, doesn't mean you can't take or borrow a lot of the tactics and strategies and apply them to your own industry or your niche. So why should you stay for the entire webinar? I know that, like I mentioned, if you're just coming off the Ninja Outreach webinar, chances are you're a little bit tired. It's like, oh my God, can I stand or can I stick for this entire webinar? Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm really rooting for you, all right, to write 2 to 3 emails by the end of this webinar. Like, I really want you to be able to do that. And in order for you to pull that off, you're going to have to stay for the entire webinar. You got to watch everything I'm going to show you. It's not complicated. And even if you hate writing or, just the idea of having to sit down and like compose something annoys you, I'm convinced that by the end of this presentation, I will have invigorated you. So if you don't quite have the marketing budget right now to hire a team and have them write your email copy for you, in the meantime, this will become as much of an event for you as it is for your customers. So just as much as you'll be shown how to make them look forward to receiving your emails, you will start looking forward to writing them for them. Okay, so I mentioned to you earlier, please get a pen and paper, all right? I know that's considered, cliche with webinars. Oh, I'm going to show you this and that, so you just can't miss this. And yes, I'll tell you right now, like you'll be able to replay this webinar. It will be kept on YouTube, so you can replay it. Now, I'm not downselling this thing, obviously, but what I'm just trying to say is, in terms of that initial ignition of an idea, you always have to jot those down, because an idea, like a hot idea, is just like anything else you light on fire. Eventually, it'll go from a rising flame to just a dying ember if you don't get the initial energy behind the idea. So it's one thing to just jot an idea down or to try to keep it in your memory. But that's why I want you to write these things down. Sure, you can go back on the replay, but if something sparks, like, an initial idea, you got to take it down. You can't let it just sit. All right, so now the big question is, What would make this style of email marketing different than others? Okay, I developed this writing style long before I got into marketing. And this was before I even knew what a copywriter was, which is what I am now. Like back then, I knew, or I thought, a copywriter was someone who protects people's intellectual property, and that was about it. You know, the style I'm going to show you is the exact style that I write for clients, but before I even had clients, before I even thought about doing any kind of freelance work, this was the way I wrote to just draw attention to whatever it is I had on the go at the time. So this is what makes it different. It's written basically from the perspective of an outsider, someone who had no interest in this industry, had no idea he'd end up in it, and it just so happened that, well, fate would bring him there by his writing. My name is John Breese. There is the face of the name. If I do switch to live screen away from this presentation, you'll see that I actually have a beard that covers this part of my face now, so I will look kind of different. But I just kind of like that picture, and so do a few of my friends, so keeping a picture. So as I mentioned, I was writing email marketing before I even knew what it was. And I don't even know why these points are showing up the way they are. They're supposed to show up in a certain order, but screw it. I'll take it the way it goes. So over the years that I've been writing email, one thing that I should note about what I've been able to do with it is I got approval from several decision makers to try new things with huge budgets and lists. And that right there takes a lot of trust on the part of any decision maker. Um, I've also written email in some of the most competitive niches and industries. So that goes from everything from dating to investments, financial investments, um, right up to sex. I mean, I'll tell you straight up, I used to write for the adult industry too, which is hyper competitive now. And I'm glad I'm not in it anymore. Not for any belief systems, what have you, just because it's so damn competitive now that I don't want to keep having to think of new ways to beat the competition. As you can see here, like there's a bit of white hair on the sides of my head. There's even more of it, and I'm convinced that the porn industry had something to do with that. Okay, so we covered all the facts about why an outsider sometimes has a lot to offer a new industry, and here's some of the reasons why I made it happen. I instinctually, I just knew of a way to write in a style that was compelling, that would just grab people and speak to them. Now, I mean, I had influences, of course, right? But those influences were outside of the ones that most of us know in the marketing industry. For instance, one of the best conversational copywriters I know of is Gary Halbert. However, as great as he is, I have to say that what I learned about conversational copywriting comes from a man who is actually like super anti-capitalist. And obviously, if you're watching this right now, if you did Gary Halbert, you're a capitalist. Like you're in this because you're in business and you want to make money. And yet the guy who really influenced the way I write today couldn't possibly have any more, like any less interest in business. But he has had a huge impact on my life. And prior to getting into business, I used this writing style to build very loyal followings. You'll find out more about these followings, but if you're coming from the subscriber list, I give you a hint. And one of them is from zines. Now, just depending on your age, you might not be familiar with what zines are. But think blogs, all right? Prior to the internet, blogs were printed. A lot of people seem to think that blogs are the big individual revolution in terms of spreading information. But the fact of the matter is, you had a ton of diligent men and women who are going out there creating their own writing and art, for that matter, and just putting together these elaborate magazines, which were called zines because they were reproduced on Xerox because they didn't have the budget to compete with, say, Time Magazine and what have you. And these zines, too, would be marketed through underground channels. So no one actually made a living off the zines, but it was just a hoot for them to put out. And I did a couple of zines, too, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And so you're going to see, like, you're going to learn the techniques that I use, not just me, like some of the other people putting out zines too, to build loyal followings without having huge channels. So you don't have to be a Time Magazine to build a loyal, rabid following. It can still be done even if you're a quote-unquote little guy. And then finally, one of the things that made this all work was that in my old style, before I was all about marketing, I always put engagement ahead of the bottom line. So I was more about getting the people who were reading what I was putting out enthralled instead of just trying to shove, a call to action or a sale down their throats. And that made the quintessential difference right there. All right, so where it all went wrong. Now, I got to tell you that at one point, it took for me to starting to suck at email marketing because I took some very bad routes, routes that we'd ordinarily lend our trust to because we deem them to be official, right? So in Montreal, there's a university called Concordia. It's one of the two big university or English universities in Montreal. And at one point, I was working for a very big marketing firm. They're like, hey, John, would you like to take some continuing education courses in marketing in Concordia? I was just like, hell yeah, why not? Because they were paying for it, right? So I thought, I don't mind sacrificing 2 days a week if someone else is picking up the tab and, boosting my resume and making myself more palatable to future employers. However, the problem was that we were being taught Madison Avenue style advertising. I mean, it was really bad. And just to give you an idea, this might make you laugh, but one of the courses, I took several while I was there, right, of the continuing education program. One of them was internet marketing. And believe it or not, our internet marketing teacher did not know what Alexa was. It just goes to show, it was just this horrible environment in terms of it really didn't teach anyone anything they really needed to know. Are you familiar with parallel structure? Because prior to going to Concordia, I wasn't, right? I never made it past high school. I just couldn't handle high school, so I left early. So it was in Concordia that I was introduced to parallel structure for headlines, for copywriting. And it was just total BS. I mean, when I finally discovered direct response, I saw that PA offered nothing in terms of promises of benefits to the reader, right? All it was like a setup to win awards. Win awards so you can get clients who you were not going to bring any kind of actual benefits to. They were not going to get any results from your work. All you could do was show off that your peers, not the consumers, liked what you were doing. Not good stuff. So that was a very bad example. And unfortunately, I applied some of that to email marketing at one point. So then when I finally did get into direct response, I followed the wrong examples, and there were quite a few. I mean, I know you're probably aware of some of the ones that I have in mind right now. There's so much crappy advice out there. One piece of crappy advice that I can sincerely tell you that I didn't follow, and I'm so happy I didn't, was a few years ago when a few copywriters came up with the brilliant idea of blasting their email list and then ending their emails with "sent from my iPhone" at the bottom of the emails. Um, I guess this was intended to give the recipient the idea that they were special and they were getting some kind of individual message. I don't know. I don't know what the exact end game was for that play, but it was a very bad play. And I'm very happy to see that that trend died very quickly, actually. So it was only by going back to my roots that I managed to like sort all this crap out and get the ship back on track. So after doing this for 7 years, and that's what it took, I see that the email style that I've developed also helps me avoid writing sales letters. Um, I know a lot of copywriters tell themselves, well, you should be good at every kind of copywriting. You know what? I've written some good sales letters that have generated results, but one of the reasons I'm not really good at them, or as good as I should be, is because of the fact that it requires a lot of labor, like a lot of focus, because these tend to be long. Like, let's say you're selling something that's $97. We're talking about a sales letter that's going to be 12 to 16 pages, depending on the subject matter. And I don't know, like, I know that myself and other people like me, I'm not the only one. Like, it's extremely laborious to write that out. Email is where you have the ultimate conqueror. You're able to gently feed the people who are on your list, email by email, what would ordinarily be a 16-page sales letter, just piece by piece. So, it takes a lot of the strain off. And if you don't like proofreading, and I hate it, it's a big benefit. Now, here's another thing, and you're going to see this in our slide too. Pardon my goofy personality, but I do sincerely believe that anyone can do this. And like you see it written right there in front of you, you only need to know how to speak. And you'll see exactly why just a little further on. It's no big secret. However, one of the things I got to tell you inspired me. Are you familiar with Joe Sugarman? Joe Sugarman was both a great copywriter as well as a master salesman on infomercials. And one of his students, because he held several copywriting seminars, was a gentleman who sold fruit. And this man had no background whatsoever in copywriting, but he wrote a sales letter about, I think he was selling pineapples, and just explained the whole reason why his pineapples are a superior choice, the whole process and procedure. He did so well, he ended up getting fan mail from established copywriters. So that's why I stand by this principle. I really do believe that anyone can do this. And as another bonus, what you're going to learn today, you can use it for your own business, or you can use it to get clients on the side. So going back to that whole thing about Joe Sugarman and his seminars, he stated that some of his clients were business owners. Like, they had their own businesses, but they wrote such compelling copy. Other people would come to them and be like, look, I know you're really busy doing your own thing, but would you please consider letting me hire you on to write some copy for me? So, goes to show. Now we're going to avoid all the hard ways of writing email copy. So that includes looking at what other people are doing, and hopefully, you can copy it and succeed at it. That is the problem. This is one way to skip right ahead in becoming better at what you do when it comes to email marketing. Because you see so many people doing all sorts of different things, right? Trying all sorts of little gimmicks, like For example, there was that one I just told you about, sent from my iPhone at the bottom of the email, right? To try and give it that personal touch. We're going to just skip right ahead of all that crap, so you never have to second guess yourself and hope that by copying someone else or what they're doing that you're doing the right thing. One thing I see a lot of people not doing is looking outside of their own industry for new ideas. So one of my favorite examples of this is that when you look at the fast food industry, a lot of people associate drive-throughs with the fast food industry. Now, while they had the drive-in, that much is true. When the original McDonald's opened, you could drive into the parking lot and people would like roller skate out to your car and serve you. It wasn't an actual drive-through per se. The actual drive-through that inspired the whole fast food industry came from banks. But naturally, it takes someone from outside the industry to observe this and be able to apply it to the industry. So that's one way that I don't see new techniques in email marketing evolve enough, is people just do not look outside their own industry and see what they can adopt and apply. I also don't believe that ABS, always be selling, is the 11th commandment. Some people will tell you that in every single one of your emails, you absolutely, positively must have a pitch. Now, if you came here from the Dopamine Triggers mailing list, you'll see that since Monday, I've been teasing this. And since Monday, I have not been giving you any actual links to where the webinar will be hosted or what have you. I've been telling you it's going to happen, been teasing it, but just not giving it to you. And so that is one problem. Like, there are so many people who are so obsessed with the idea that you absolutely have to give people something to take action on. It can be essential to get them to take at least a minor action. You'll see that some of the emails I've sent you since Monday have had little clicks here, like little clickbaits here and there. But for the actual event itself, no. You do not always have to leave some kind of a pitch. All right. So now, in a way, this takes us back to the ABS thing I was just talking about. This is another thing we're not going to be covering. We will not be looking at the way mainstream mailers do it. The reason I brought up the knowing other industries and then showing you this picture of a Starbucks email is because I'm signed up to everything. Even though I only weigh 160 pounds, I'm on a ton of weight loss lists. I'm on BizOp lists. I'm on Starbucks mailing list. I'm on McDonald's mailing list. I'm on Home Depot's mailing list. I'm on every financial institution's. Like, I watch everything. And one thing I see that is a really bad influence is the mainstream, which is what you're looking at now, you know. So if you come from the internet marketing world, you know, the very pure nitty gritty one, then you're looking at this and you're probably shaking your head and thinking like, man, like here they are offering free shipping if you do this and if you do that. And that is too often the case. So if you happen to be in this business, you know, maybe retail or e-commerce, and you feel a need to always bribe people into reading your emails, then keep watching, please. So are you ready to get your hands dirty? Are you ready to like dig into this recipe? And here comes the cheesy part. Okay, I got to admit, I'm a bit of a Disney nerd, and I was telling you, anybody can write good email. I don't know if you've ever seen Ratatouille, but this is Gustav, and one of his bylines in the movie repeatedly was, anyone can cook. And I really am convinced of this. Just as anyone really can cook, and it's true because we all got to eat, right? Anyone can write an email because we all need to communicate if we really want to have any kind of, you know, human connection. All right. So before we go any further, Yeah, I got to do the other webinar cliche, but in this case, I really effing mean it. Turn off your Skype, instant message, turn off your phone, and turn off your email, please. Get your pen and paper, because like I said, you don't know when inspiration might strike, and when it does, you want to get the actual virgin idea in your mind, not something that you try and conjure up later on. All right, so here are the 3 insights we're going to be covering today. Insight number 1, we're going to be going over curiosity captivators. And as you'll see with the other 3, these are things that just never get old. The twisted 80s trading card strategies. You've never heard of this anywhere else because it's a little thing that I just came up with for the fun of it, but it does make perfect sense and you'll see why. And then finally, nomadic loops. So these are your 3 insights. So let's dig right in. So the curiosity captivators. This is why they're so vital to selling, all right? Everyone's trying to play it straight. So if you were to ask anyone from the PUA community, and if you don't know what PUA is, it's the pickup artist community. What playing straight gets you, it basically gets you a life of loneliness, all right? So playing it straight is never just give everyone the straight answer, the straight play, or what you're trying to tell them. Always leave a little room for a bit of head scratching. And then another reason why you need to have the curiosity factor in is because you've never had so much attention for your market, so much competition, sorry, for your market's attention. And what I mean by that is it's not just like, let's say, I know you sell tires, right? You're not just competing with other tire manufacturers for your customers' attention. You're competing against the radio. You're competing against Pokemon Go. You're competing against like his screaming wife. You're competing against, I don't know, pop-ups. Like, it is unbelievable how much competition we have vying for our attention. For an article I just wrote, I dug up some data from Time Magazine, and you might not want to congratulate yourself for this. I'm definitely not congratulating myself for this, but it turns out that collectively, thanks to the digital age, our attention span has whittled down to less than 12 seconds, which means humans are now officially more pathetic than goldfish in terms of paying attention to stuff. Pretty bad, huh? So this means that prompting curiosity is even more vital than ever. And then you might be familiar with this, of course, the expression FOMO. FOMO dictates what humans must have. Nobody likes to be left behind, and with this digital age, and this is something you'll have to master over time. It's not just an email. You'll have to find out how to leverage it across several platforms, especially things like Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest, which are great to flame or fan the flames of FOMO. But curiosity fans those flames perfectly. So we're going to show you how to do it in email, and then as you gain a grasp for it, you can spread it across those 3 social media platforms I just told you about. All right, so obviously you can see that picture. And when it comes to fascinating stuff from my childhood, nothing beats Time Life's Mysteries of the Unknown. If you're not familiar with the picture, that's what you see there right now. It's Mysteries of the Unknown. And not only did I always see these commercials on television, but my father, he was subscribed to several magazines. And I'm not sure if you're aware of how like magazine subscriptions work in terms for marketers, but everybody's always buying each other's lists. And once they buy each other's lists, then they cross promote, right? So we'd always receive direct mail from Time Life books. Now, at the time that I was getting this direct mail from Time Life, I had no interest in marketing whatsoever. In fact, at that age, I probably just like I heard the term marketing, but I just had no idea what it was, and I didn't give a shit. Um, but I remember I would collect their direct mail pieces, and there was a very specific reason why. It was because um, if you are a fan of Gary Halbert at all, these guys practice the number one rule that he preached most: turn your direct mail into theater. And theater it was, and that's why I collected it. They would create these elaborate pieces, and I mean, when I say elaborate, they would cut no corners. So what you see here is a very bad reproduction. Now, if you look very carefully, right, you can see some of the foldings in the like the creases, right? So imagine this: you get this at your home, right? Like this arrives in your mailbox. You open it up and you tear it open, and what you see in that picture there, you unfold it. And this is, oh, sorry, let me backtrack 1 second. You get a 4-page sales letter. You also get a brochure, and then you get this thing, and then you unfold it, and you unfold it, and you unfold it, and you just keep on unfolding it until finally this thing is friggin' 18 inches by 24 inches. It's what the industry calls a bed sheet because it's so huge. And it's just, you're looking at this, and it's just pure titillation, pure stimuli. You're just so enthralled by what you're looking at. So the writer behind that piece that you're looking at right now, his name is Len Burko, and he worked very intensely with the design team behind what you're looking at right now. And they broke a lot of rules, actually. There's a big rule in marketing that you should not print white on black. However, since the whole spirit of the product, the Time Life series, was very gothic, very dark, they felt it was a perfect fit, and it was, because it just gave it this very dark, mystical allure. So it worked for that factor. It just played right into the whole spirit of what they were trying to do with this thing. So this wasn't just a mere mailer. It was an event, and that's why I used to collect these things. And I'm hoping you probably saw, if you're on the Dopamine Triggers mailing list, I talked about how my father had found my old baseball card collection, and that recently my mother found that a very embarrassing arbitration letter I wrote arguing my case against having to clean the bathroom. I'm hoping that they end up finding these things. Like, if I haven't thrown them out myself or they haven't thrown them out, I'm hoping that maybe they have a couple of these mailers that I used to collect from Time Life books, because I'm telling you, these really were something else. All right, so when I look at them, even if I look at this kind of shoddy reprint that you see here, I still get excited thinking about how, when I was young, I used to get very excited when I'd get these in the mail and just go through the whole process of tearing open the envelope, taking out the letter carefully, and taking out the brochure, and then taking out this piece that you're looking at here and unfolding it, right? And one of the reasons why it worked the way it did is because Time Life gathered a lot of intel on their target audience. Unfortunately, I wasn't their target audience because I did not have the money to subscribe to it. I was about 12 years old at the time. So it was all on my father, who thought all this stuff was hogwash. But that's the thing. It's just they knew how to sell to their exact audience, which were people who were heavily invested in New Age. And when I say heavily invested, it's like they weren't just curious about it. They were convinced that this stuff was real. They just needed someone, for instance, Time Life Books, to give them the proof. And that's just it. And that's what worked. That was the difference with it. So some of the takeaways they could put forward in your own campaign, if you want to kind of model it after this one, is that you have to present something to your audience that they're already convinced about. So many people try to make a compelling argument about why you should believe in this or why you should believe in that. There's nothing like that going on here. They're not telling you to believe in it because they know that their core audience was already compelled to like follow the information they were given. So that is the first takeaway to go with on this one. And then another thing I got to point out is I read an interview with Len, the writer of this piece, and he said that there were so many subjects that these people who the piece was geared to could be interested in. It could be UFOs, ghosts, could be mystic places, anything. So in order for the package to really work, right? Let me see if I can show you this. See where I'm running the mouse right now, right? A little swirl. That was the opener right there. They need to make sure that it was the most common point out of what all these people believed in. So whether they preferred UFOs, ghosts, or mystic places, what they settled on was what studies showed to be that 2/3 of Americans claimed anyways to have experienced some kind of psychic phenomenon in their lives. So that's why the copy starts with that first. The whole thing about, have you ever been in a room and felt that there's another presence in it, blah, 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 and on it went. And that's what made it a winner. So be sure to note that down. There's always got to be that one common point. So when you're writing to a whole market, it's always going to be about generalizations. You can't beat that. It's always going to be about that. So try and find the most common point right away. So insight number 2, and this is what the entire webinar is named after because it's the part that really inspired me most, and that is the twisted 80s trading card strategy. I love this pick, and I'm going to sit right on it for a little while. So what you're looking at is a card from the notorious 80s trading card set, Dinosaurs Attack from Topps. And this was released in 1988. And in total, it contained 55 cards and 11 stickers. And the cards, each of them told a story of these dinosaurs that were transported through time right up to present day. I can't remember the whole thing, freak accident or something like that. And they just started wreaking havoc on Earth. So imagine you're me. You're like 10 years old, and this is freaking awesome. It's just like, it's hilarious, right? You just love it. So the whole series is like all these cards that you see here. It's graphic violence, total gore. And I should also note, too, it was inspired by the Mars Attacks trading cards of 1962. And that's why they felt they could come back out with this and it would work. And to a degree, it did. So here's the difference. Unlike the mailer from the Time Life books, the Mystery of the Unknown, these cards, being what they are, like picture baseball cards, I'm sure you can picture that, like they're small. So the makers were forced to condense a lot of the information you see here. So you're looking at this card right now, and there's a whole story behind it. And these guys managed to condense an entire intriguing story on the back of a card. And that is one of your goals right there. So what you just picked up from insight number 1 about the Time Life books, once you do find that hook, that story that you really want, you got to start figuring out how to boil it down. The same way that you boil down a sauce. Like, I don't know if you like to cook, but I love to cook. It's part of my background. And the best tasting sauces are the ones that, let's say we're doing a beef broth, right? And you fill that pot up with a ton of water, and then you just boil it at high heat until there's about 3 inches of water left in the pot. Then you refill it over again and you boil it down to 3 inches, and you keep repeating until finally you know it's done when you pour it into a bowl, put it in the refrigerator, and it coagulates to the point where even just the refrigerator, it has the consistency of ice cream in the freezer. You have to sink a spoon in there and the spoon bends. Now that is when you know you've got good sauce, because it's been reduced until you're at absolute purity. And that's what these cards accomplished. Because like I said, you had 55 cards in the entire series. And though the story is kind of disjointed and it's kind of here and there sometimes, there is an actual storyline to it. And he managed to tell it over the course of 55 cards. And it just so happens too, I should mention this, for the 25th anniversary, they made a full-out graphic novel of the whole card series. So they expand the whole story. So it just goes to show that this story that was initially told through a bunch of trading cards in brief garnered enough of a cult interest that they were able to put together an entire book. And, sorry, almost got to throw this in, when the card series initially came out, Tim Burton wanted to make a movie of it. Yes, that's right. The only thing that turned him off was that while he was thinking of doing it, they came out with Jurassic Park, and he thought, yeah, you know what, probably can't compete with that. But so anyways, dinosaur attacks. Another reason I want to bring up just why this insight is so necessary to your email writing. Not just to your email writing, too. It also extends to your content marketing. I'm a huge fan of Orange is the New Black. And so sometimes when I watch it with my girlfriend, we, like I might get distracted by something, especially in the summer here when we got the skunks coming out. They make noise in the backyard. Just get pulled away from something. So a recent example of this is there was a scene, just a talking scene between Piper and Alex. I'm pretty sure Alex. Yeah, Piper and Alex. And they were talking and talking and talking, and something happened in the backyard to distract me. I got up, I went out to look out, and then when I got back, the conversation was over, right? I was like, crap, man, like they seem to be really discussing something. So I rewinded the conversation back to the 5-minute mark. Like I went 5 minutes back, and I was something like 3 or 4 scenes behind. I was like, what the hell? So I go to the 4-minute mark, still behind. 3-minute mark, still behind. Finally, I brought it to the 1-minute mark. And that's when I realized, like, holy Jesus, like, the writers are incredible. They manage to condense so much, so many loops, like story loops and detailed information into 1 minute, that in a brief moment of distraction, I assume that all that information was worth 5 minutes. That's when you know you have something really good, something really compelling, is when you can boil it down, and then each minute feels infinitely more. Like I don't know how much more. Like it could be 5 minutes more, like the Orange is the New Black example, or 10 minutes more. Just to draw out on this example, once again, if you were on the Dopamine Triggers mailing list, you got my email about that beef between Neil Patel and Rand Fishkin. When I initially wrote that, because Rand Fishkin, in this whole beef, declared himself as a male feminist, I think that whole thing was just retarded. I wrote something that was probably closer to 1,000 words, and I just kept reducing it, and just keeping the absolute keyest points in my arguments. And it did very well. Like I got some good positive feedback, and I'm looking forward to publishing that on LinkedIn soon. But it just goes to show that by instinct, we feel this need to inundate people with information because we feel the information, or we feel what we have to say is sometimes more valuable than we think. And that's why you've got to boil it down to what you see here. A card that simply explains why and how a bunch of school kids and a teacher are being mauled by a dinosaur. So it's couldn't be simpler than that. Okay, so we covered a lot of why this strategy is a must. Here's some extended points on it. So the company, obviously, I work for is Dopamine Triggers, and that's based on the actual chemical in the brain, dopamine. It's an action chemical, and it's activated by deprivation and anticipation. So, for instance, let's say you see something on Amazon that really tickles your fancy, and you want to put that order in. The first part of your dopamine trip is hit order. So you start going through the order form, and you start getting kind of excited. So like, oh, I'm going through the process and whatnot. And you're going through the whole process and keep getting more excited. And then finally, you press the buy button and you get even more excited because it's finalized. So you know for a fact they're going to pack your stuff into a box and they're going to ship it over. And then next thing you know, I think the next day or 2 days, depending on what your plan is, you get an email from Amazon. Here's your tracking number. It's already on the way. And then you get these other tracking updates, and it's just like, all right, well, you live in California and you order from Missouri. Well, guess what? It's now in like Nebraska. So you're just getting more excited. It's just, that is what dopamine is. It's a promise of delivery. And so these cards, what they do is they promise to deliver even more on the next card. So they don't give everything away right away. We were talking about Walking Dead earlier, and I'm not revealing any spoilers here by saying this. I mean, if you're a true Walking Dead fan, you saw the final episode of this season. We have Negan, who pulls out his baseball bat with barbed wire and just starts clubbing someone's head open with it. But we don't know who it is because we have a POV shot of the person getting killed. So we have to wait till next season, and that's just it. Never tell your customer who's going to get killed until next season. There's also the fact that you have to get your audience involved in your marketing. That's like so key to growth. One thing I left out, and I was thinking of putting this in, and now I kind of regret that I didn't, was a picture of the town of Meaford, Ontario, where I lived in briefly when I was a kid. That's where I discovered these cards. It's a town of 2,000 people. So in being a town of 2,000 people, Topps didn't really ship that many packs of the cards up there. So those of us kids that got it, we had to broaden our networks. Like there are, I think, 3 schools altogether. We had to like go and like network with other kids, say like, hey, do you know a kid from their school who's got the other cards, in order to complete our sets and get the whole story. So, putting people in a situation where they're the ones who are spreading, a need to get more of what you offer, that's ideal. That's what the strategy is all about. And it all brings it back to engagement too. I mean, when you give people just a small touch of information, about what they really need or what they really want, it just spikes engagement. Like, don't give it all away. There's a restorator, I can't remember what his name was, but he was stating the reason why his restaurant only gives these little tiny cereal bowl servings of each meal. They don't serve any entrees in the regular format you might see at your local pub. And they do that because they feel that people get maximum enjoyment out of something within 3 to 5 bites, I think. And after 3 to 5 bites, it's just then they lose the appreciation for what they're indulging in at that time. So try to think about that for a second. Are you giving them a huge steak dinner with a ton of fries, or are you giving them these 3 little bites that are uber delicious, super succulent, just so delicious, and then leaving them hanging on that? All right, so now we're getting to the nomadic loop. Ah, I love this picture. I couldn't help but throw this picture in. And so this is the part of the whole equation that is actually dearest to my heart. I've had many incredible experiences in my life. But you know what? Being a full-time traveler was the most life-changing one of all. Definitely the most defining aspect of my existence. Once again, this predates any interest I had in email marketing or copywriting. And as an avid traveler, I spent months, even years, away from friends and family. Sometimes I'd even be in regions where reliable internet access is tougher to come by. So when I did access it, I had to maximize the time I had. So what I do is I'd simply click the select all box in my personal email account, and I'd add all my contacts to the email I was about to write and give them the insights to the latest episode of my journeys. And if you want to know what happened, is that I had a ton of folks telling me that I should apply myself to a writing career, that when I was ready to quote unquote settle down, that's really what I should place my central focus on. And I wanted to point something out, someone who's more well known than I am, and that's Tucker Max. And he did the exact same thing, you know, back when he was in his drunken party frat boy phase. That is how he built his career. He had this thing where he loved to just write about what he was getting all drunk and effed up about, and sending it to his contact list, his personal contact list, not his subscriber list. And that's how he got to where he did. So how this comes out to is by taking the nomadic loops, right? You're reframing your mind so that you do not think of your audience as, or you do think, sorry, of your audience as long lost friends. And back when I was doing this, back when I was like hitting my contact list, I was truly writing to them as they were to me, my dear and cherished friends or my family. Like I had nothing to sell them, right? And I would get a ton of response from them. And there's no reason why you shouldn't take the same approach with your own email marketing. And it also teaches you to tell stories in the exact way that you would tell those stories to your friends. And the reason I bring that up is because with all the marketing advice that we get out there telling us how we should and should not write emails, just like try and picture the way you would explain something hilarious to your buddies, right? Do you second guess yourself in the way that you explain things to your buddies? Are you telling yourself, like, as you're delivering your story, this is what I'm trying to say. Do you tell yourself, oh, I'm not saying it the right way, or I'm not going to impress them, blah, blah, blah? They're not looking to get impressed. They're your friends. So if you're telling them a story, it's just because, you know they're going to enjoy it. You're not trying to like prove yourself to them, or at least I'm hoping you're not. It's not cool. But you're telling them a story because you think that they were going to get some genuine kind of enjoyment out of it. So it doesn't matter how you deliver it. It really doesn't. The point is that you just tell something that entertains them. And in the end, honestly, this is how top TV shows keep you hooked on the next episode. And I've been referring back to this, like this is no big surprise by now with what we've been covering. Like they just keep using this tactic over and over again to leave us hungry and hungrier. And if by any chance in hell the producer of Orange is the New Black is watching this, damn you for being so good. Seriously, because that last season finale, I'm losing my mind over it. And yeah, bravo is all I got to say to you about that one. So here, what I wanted to do is give you a live example of one of these, or of the three insights at work. So this letter that you see here, the company I was helping with used to email this list with plain form, like plain text format. So what you see in that picture there, that's not what they were sending. They were just sending like plain, like if you go into Notepad on Microsoft, just plain text emails. That's it. And that was a big problem because what you see here is a product that was an app that you could add on to Google Earth back in the day. So it was a highly visual thing. Before this one went out, and this was a winning letter or email, I should say. Before this one went out, it was preceded with teasers. Now, you remember how I was telling you about the emails I was sending to the Dopamine Triggers subscribers about this webinar? I wasn't just giving it away. I wasn't just giving you a link and blah, blah, blah. Like, I gave you something to actually look forward to, actually look out for, actually look out for the link. And it took a bit of convincing at first for them to send out emails that had no actual promotional links. But in the end, it worked because it built up the excitement for what this letter. And then when this letter was finally launched, not only did it have a graphical look, and those of you who are copywriting junkies would probably agree that this was lifted from what Gary Halbert used to look for or used to aim for in terms of a look. So it's a nice, crisp letter format. Like it just feels like a real letter when you look at it. And the action element is, you can see that your Earth code 2343. So, you know, you're asking them to actually participate in the event of the sale, you know. And by taking all these elements and putting them to work, this product, which was earning just a few $100s a day prior to our involvement, went on to do 22K on the first day and do 5 figures for a little while after that. I think you can probably hear my cat. She's meowing. Perhaps she sees the skunks. I'm sorry about that. We will keep moving forward. Now, I couldn't help but adding that picture. I love this picture. By now, you're probably asking yourself, do I need a big list to make these insights work? And that's why I had to bring in our little friend there in that famous picture I'm sure you've seen in other memes. The answer is no, because we are not trying to build a list of customers here. I mean, yes, the bottom line is important. Yes, you've got to make money. That is important. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build a cult, not a customer list. So there's a very key difference. All right. One of the first things that came to mind, I wanted to bring this up, was an author by the name of Thomas Pynchon. They made a movie of one of his books. Ken Reeves was in it. I think it's called A Scanner Darkly. I can't remember. But the reason I bring him up is because I'm not a fan of his. I actually do not like his work. But those that love his work adore it. They worship it. In fact, I was shocked when I read that there's some guy in Germany who is so fanatical about Pynchon's work that he wanted to do an illustration for every page of one of his books. So I think, let's say one of his books was 400 pages long. Imagine that. A guy devoting himself to creating an illustration for all 400 illustrations. That, in the beginning, is what you're aiming for. People who are so in love with you that you will not have Star Wars success at first. You will have Pynchon success, Thomas Pynchon style success, where instead of having 5 million worldwide raving fans, you will have 50,000 completely rabid fans, like a total cult following. So far we've seen, I really would like to hear if you've, like, what kind of new insights you've gotten from, like, going through this so far. I mean, I'd really be interested in it, especially given some of the advice that I'm trying to counter here. So if you do want to get in contact and send it in, I'd love to see it. I should also say that this is really the actual foundation we use for every gig that we do for client work. So it's not everything we do for client work. It, of course, gets more complicated. There's a lot more to it, but this is the actual starting point. So this brings me to the question of whether or not you need a deeper dive based on what you've seen, what you've heard, right? So if you think that you would like what our clients like based on what you've seen, we only do minimum $5,000 a month projects, and it's not really affordable for everyone. So the thing is, I decided to create this webinar to just give you a level playing field, like where we start in terms of every project we do. And if you feel that you're serious about growing your business on a budget, there's a certain way we can help meet you on a budget that is more friendly to what you do instead of what you see here. So what I came up with is an email marketing crafting kit. And I've put together what you or your mom, and I would say certainly your mom, would consider an email marketer's care package. And the reason I say it's a care package is because that box that you saw there, you will get an actual box in the mail if you want help from us. And what's in that box is what you'll see here is the dopamine doctrine. The dopamine doctrine, what it is basically, I guess you'd call it, for anything else, a catalog of my year's experience in email marketing. And this is something that I've basically referred some of the people I worked with. And when I mean work with, it's sometimes I've done JVs with people, or there's a partner that I work with on several projects, and just kind of tell them, like, look, like, this is kind of the way I like to have things done. And so therefore I refer to the dopamine doctrine. And so this dopamine doctrine, what you would get here is about, I'd say, I think I packed in about 21, maybe less. I'll say less just to be safe. 21 swipe emails that you can use for inspiration. But best of all, it's just to say that is what's based on what I just showed you tonight. The main part of it is you have all these exercises that show you how to write emails in the conversational style that is just so integral, like so necessary in order to break through all the clutter that's going on. And you know what? No matter what happens to email marketing, this is one thing that will not change. You will need to have that email, that conversational style in your email. And you'll be surprised by some of the things you see here in terms of where that conversational style came from. You'll also be surprised by the actual exercises you'll have to write out. And that's the thing too. So if you don't like doing stuff yourself, you might want to think about just handing this off to your staff. But there's some exercise in here that will require you to actually sit down and copy what's in the book, or in the binder, I should say, out by hand, just to train you to get to a certain place. And then there will also be the other things that you'll find in there is an in-depth interview with a very prolific name. You'll recognize him once you see him in there. But this guy is considered the king of online continuity programs. And the reason I include that in there is because continuity programs are some of the trickiest products to sell online. So if you have a website teaching people how to play golf or what have you, and you're charging them anything from $20 right up to $100 a month to keep like driving up their game, that is more challenging than, say, doing a one-off sale or selling a service where, you know, they can actually speak to you one-on-one. So it's a lot more challenging, and when you read that interview, you'll see how the email marketing strategies that are in the rest of the guide can help you. Plus, also in there are offline strategies on how to build your list using offline methods. So while everybody is flocking to Facebook ads right now to try and build their lists, and it's getting progressively more expensive to the point where it's going to be like AdWords soon, where it's just going to be completely ludicrous to cost-wise to build a list. These methods will show you how to network with people. It'll show you all the little secrets that people, like so many online competitors, are ignoring right now. And if they were to embrace it, they would save themselves a ton of money. So that's just the Dopamine Doctrine course. And then the other thing you're going to get in this package is a 14-day copyright-free autoresponder. So what you see right now is a USB key. What I'm looking at right now is 2 weeks of emails pre-written by a professional copywriter, ready to go. So you plug this into your computer, and you have the choice of copy and pasting the emails directly into your autoresponder as is, and claiming full authorship for the content, or you can go ahead and modify them as you see fit. It's up to you. But this is something that you're going to get thrown right into the box, and once you get it, it gives you, you know, I'm saying 14-day, but I mean, given that over 14 days, there will be 4 non-business days, you could even try to stretch this over 3 weeks. So it's your choice. It's a 2-week autoresponder. It's a 3-week autoresponder. And then you're also going to get a 30-minute consultation on Skype with me, one-on-one. And when we get on Skype, you can feel free to ask me about anything pertaining to email, pertaining to copywriting, pertaining to automation of your marketing, just whatever it is you want. You could have me look at your back end, what you've set up so far, critique your sales copy, but you'll have 30 full minutes to decide whatever you want to talk about, and then throw it at me, and we'll get right down to it. And just another thing too, if you choose to prepare all your questions and what have you ahead of time, you'll get so much more out of that 30 minutes. It's unbelievable. All right, so before we keep going forward, I just got to state right now, and this is very important. There's a specific cast of people this is not for, so let's just get that out of the way. If you've not started a business yet, this is not for you, so please don't go forward with this. Just wait until you have a business start, or just keep waiting on whatever it is that's keeping you from starting a business. I don't know. Just if you don't have a business yet, not for you. Course collectors, if that's all you do, just keep amassing these courses and you actually do nothing with them. Once again, bad fit. And you'll know right away, because when we get on Skype, I will lose complete and total interest in talking to you like 2 minutes out the gate. So that's you. If you get off on just buying this stuff and letting it accumulate on your bookshelf or capture digital dust on your desk drive, not for you. Sorry. And if you're just seeing if this is for you, like you think you might want to go through with this, blah, 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 like, no, like either you know that email marketing is an integral part of your business or you don't. It's that simple. And I think I made some pretty clear points as to why it's integral to your business. But if you don't think it is, or you just got to think about it, sorry, please move on. And I'm moving on right now. So let's just take a quick look at what you're going to get. You're going to get the Dopamine Doctrine course. That has a $297 value. You're going to get a 14-day autoresponder. Now, if you go to a professional copywriter, it's going to come out to that exact price you see there, $3,150. All right, it really will come out to that. So you don't just think that the templates themselves cost that much. This is what you'd pay to have a professional copywriter sit down and write you out a 14-day autoresponder. And then there's the 30-minute consultation. That comes out to $225 in itself. So that's a total value of $3,572. Now, when I put this webinar together, I had a couple ideas going. The first idea was to offer a package at our regular client rates. Always, hoping to get more clients, but that would limit the sales and deprive solopreneurs the opportunity to grow into future clients. So like I mentioned, the minimum contract we go for is $5,000. That's it. Like that's the minimum price for a contract. And a lot of solopreneurs, they just can't afford that. Like $5,000 is just way out of touch. So they can't do it. However, it's not to say that these solopreneurs cannot grow their businesses and evolve them into an entity that can eventually generate that $5,000 that they can use to become a future client. So what we did is we chose to make it more affordable, and we're offering such an explosion of value that you still get many of the same benefits that you'd get from us one-on-one client. And I know sometimes I'm switching from like using a we to an I, a we to an I. In case you're wondering, I am getting help on this from a partner, and that is Alex, and he might jump in on this at one point or another. So that's why I am doing the inclusive. Now, you see here I'm including a testimonial from John Romaniello. And the reason I'm doing this is not so much just to give myself a pat on the back, though it does, of course, help you see who I've helped. But one of the reasons I've included this specifically is I helped John when he was producing his superhero workouts program. And honestly, I had some of the most fun I ever had because actually the superhero, the whole superhero thing just completely lent itself to, what we've been talking about on this whole webinar, just having a bit of a fanboy thing going on, and just had a lot of fun. But what I really brought this on for, like this testimonial, is you see here he brings up the mimicry thing. Now, the whole style that I've been showing you, it lends itself to mimicry, and that is so important because part of what captivates people is being able to write in so many other voices. So you don't just want to write in your own voice. You want to be able to write in other people's voices because in some cases, some of your emails might ask that you write in kind of a novel style where there's a bit of a conversation going back and forth and you want to have two distinct voices. But another very important reason why mimicry is important, especially in terms of what you're getting out of this package, is if you have any kind of interest in client work, you have to be able to talk in other people's voices. So for instance, when I did work here for John, we're both named John, so I should say Roman Yellow. I'll just call him Roman because that's his nickname. So with Roman, what I did is when I took him on as a client, I started to watch a whole bunch of his videos on YouTube because he's got a ton of them. Just look up his name on YouTube. He's got a ton of them. And then I'd watch the way he acts. I'd watch the way he speaks. And then I'd go sit in front of my mirror and I'd mimic the way his face moves, the way he arches his shoulders while he speaks, and then his vernacular. And that's how I nailed the copy for it, because I was able to completely imitate the way Roman acts, like not just the way he speaks, just his entire act, the way he is, his whole person. So that is something you're going to learn by taking on this course. So once again, what you're going to get is the Dopamine Doctrine course and the 14-day autoresponder and the 30-minute consultation. And once again, I got to reiterate the value of that. It's going to be $3,572 worth of value. But I'm also going to send you, and this is just as physical as the other thing. So just as you're going to get that binder full of juicy information and the USB key that you can copy all the emails from and plant them right into your autoresponder, you're also going to get this guide that you can take to the bathroom with you if you want. It's the Twitter traffic engine. It's valued at $750 because that is the average time it would take for us to sit down with a client and mount the campaigns as well as the social jukebox strategies that are outlined in this guide. So what you're getting here is the exact blueprint for the gold rush that is the Twitter PPC platform. Do you remember, I'm not sure if you remember this, but when AdWords first came out, it used to be 5 cents a click. Well, guess what? We're back to 5 cents a click via Twitter. It's not going to last forever. I'm not going to lie to you and say it will, but this is the time to get in on it. So this Twitter traffic engine guide will show you exactly how we whittle things down to right up to 6 cents a click. And it's not always evident, but done right, it can be done. So I'm showing you right there a snapshot of one of the last campaigns we ran, and it was for an online magazine. And at 6 cents a click, that was a very, very favorable turnout. We'll show you how to do the same and how to also use social jukebox, which you'll learn more about, especially if you're part of the Dopamine Triggers mailing list. We'll be emailing you some of the changes because they're not just doing automated tweets. Now they're adding automated LinkedIn updates as well as Facebook updates. So it's going to be pretty incredible. And for a fixed price, you are going to be given essentially a fixed amount of traffic, which is one of the best deals you can ask for these days. And finally, you have the high ticket sales blueprint. And I do not, maybe you remember me making that comment about ABS, always be selling, which was taken from Glenn Ross. I definitely do not consider myself a Glenn Ross style salesman in any sense. I really, no, that's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm not a Jordan Belfort. I'm not a Grant Cardone by any stretch. But the reason I find this a very valuable asset to you is because I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert and I'm someone who does not come from a business background. I was forced in a situation where I absolutely had to figure out how to sell products that were worth $1,000 on the phone. And naturally, it wasn't easy, but I found the exact way to do it in terms of wording, cues. Cues are very important. A lot of people won't tell you that, but in some cases, there are certain places where a pause must be entered in the conversation. And that pause can be priceless. It's amazing how much it can change the exact direction of where you're going to go in terms of your sale. And finally, there's a trick that you'll see in this blueprint that I had never heard of before until I actually tried it. And it's something to do with your arms. And when you figure out, or when you find out what it is that you do with your arms at this point in the conversations, at this point in the conversation, it'll blow your mind. Like it's so simple, so stupid that you'll kind of wonder why you just weren't kind of trying this with other sales aspects. I mean, sometimes I tell myself maybe I should write copy doing this. Like I should sit back and, you know, do this little arm trick while I'm writing copy, and it'll actually enhance copy because it has done wonders for, you know, the way I do sales over the phone. So overall, if you really want to boost this forward, not only are you getting the Dopamine Doctrine course, the 14-day autoresponder, and the 30-minute consultation, but I will also be sending you the Twitter Traffic Engine Guide. And when you reach to that box, you'll also have the High Ticket Items Blueprint Guide. So you'll have all this reading material to do with as you wish, hopefully put it all to use and not just let it just gather dust on the bookshelf. So once again, if you were to hire a copywriter to do all this for you, you would pay at least $5,000 fee for everything I listed. That's minimum. But you know, that $5,000 fee would typically be mostly for pre-consultations and writing the copy and doing the research. It wouldn't include any work on generating any kind of Twitter traffic, and it wouldn't include any kind of coaching like what you would get with the High Ticket Items Blueprint. So with that, you're also getting a 60-day guarantee. So if you invest in this crafting kit right now, you are backed up by a full 60-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. The two things you can do with this right now is the option one, once it does arrive at your house, take it out of the box and just go to work on everything that's inside it yourself. Or option two, like I said, maybe you really do see the wisdom in this and you understand the use of email marketing and marketing automation, but you don't want to do it yourself. Just hand it off to your team. I mean, this is not written in any kind of, you know, nuclear physicist speak. It's easy to understand. Just hand it off to them and the rest will take care of itself. And either way, if either options doesn't work for you, keep in mind that you do have the 60-day guarantee backing you. So if you can't afford the minimum $5K a month for a professional marketing agency to step in and just give your business that fundamental boost it needs to grow, then at least you know that you can take this chance, which is backed by a 100% guarantee. So what you got to do to get started is you just got to type in what you see right here, which is the dopaminetriggers.com/now. That is where you'll find the buy page to get started on this. And I'm looking forward to let me help you. I mean, writing more effective email is what I do. However, I want to teach it to you because if you're not in that position yet where you can't hire a professional to do it for you, this kit will do everything you need it to do in terms of teaching you or a valued member of your team to do it for you. It's also going to show you how to drive dirt cheap Twitter traffic to your offers and generate more leads. And once those leads come in, they'll get totally sucked into the email that you're writing. And if you happen to sell a very high priced product, this will show you how to just see them through the whole thing. So from bringing them in through Twitter traffic to cycling them through your email and getting them familiar with what you do and building trust to getting them on the phone with you so you can close that deal, it's all going to get taken care of. Go to dopaminetriggers.com/now. So once again, just to reiterate, you're getting the Dopamine Doctrine course, the 14-day autoresponder. So right there, that's a business in a box in itself. 30-minute consultation. You're getting the Twitter traffic engine, the high ticket items blueprint. All of this is worth $4,419. If you get today, $397 gets mailed to your door next day. So it's dopaminetriggers.com/now. Go there. We'll get the whole thing started. And that is it for me. I'm looking out. I'm looking out the back door, and I think I see a skunk. Or I don't know if I see a skunk. Do I see a skunk? No, I don't see a skunk. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm glad that I didn't promise the skunks because I can't see them, and the cats are not giving me any indication that they see them. So I hope you got something out of this. If you want to share any of the ideas you might have come up with for your emails, go to dopaminetriggers.com/contact and just send them through that form. Otherwise, if you want to get the whole kit that I just told you about, and believe me, you do, I mean, this will really take things to the next level. Go to what you see there, dopaminetriggers.com/now. That's it for me. I'll talk to you later. I hope you enjoy the show.